I saw that my glucose was 377. I looked that up and realized immediately that that wasn't a good place to be. My A1C came back and it was 10.4. And then later that afternoon, when I had my little notification from my chart, I was like, so I opened it and my A1C was 6.8. I wasn't worried about my weight at all, but I have lost 8 pounds since I started doing Whole Foods. I was on metformin and that one did not work out for me, so I was switched to Farxiga. I am a mom of four. Grown young adults, and I am a teacher. I'm someone who cares about being healthy. I have goals that I want to accomplish in the future, things that I want to do that require being well. And so staying physically, mentally active and healthy are very, very important to me. I do a moderate workout 6 days a week. I felt like I was someone who ate well, lots of fruits and vegetables. I did eat meat and some processed foods, but I kept it to a minimum and kept my weight in check. In January, late January, when one weekend I was extremely thirsty, I could not get enough to drink. I had to use the bathroom continuously. I was losing about a pound a day over the course of 4 days. And as much as I'd like to be losing that much weight at my age, you just don't accidentally lose weight. So I knew something was wrong. I contacted my doctor's office. They got me in that morning on a Monday. After a urine test, my doctor was pretty serious, and she said, "You have elevated glucose and ketones in your urine. You are well into diabetic range." And she wanted me to do some blood work. And she said if the results came back the way that she suspected, she would be sending me to the hospital. I started looking up the condition, the prognosis, like what people tend to experience, and none of it was good because what I saw was that generally over time, diabetes worsens, more medications are added. Sometimes a type 2 diabetic will have to go on insulin, and then the host of other problems that can go along with it. So I did start looking for information, but it's kind of like the more I looked, the worse it got. Okay, so one day before work, I was doing my morning workout, and when I stopped, I opened my Facebook and I looked, and there was a post. It was in a diabetic support group that I had joined. And there was someone who mentioned a high carb way of eating for diabetics. And I thought, well, that sounds wrong. And so I started doing some looking. So the more I looked, the more I was interested. I listened to a few podcasts by various people. And then I finally went in search of a book. And I went to Amazon, and that's actually where I first found Mastering Diabetes. I was looking at a few different book options, but I ended up choosing this one because of one, the fact that the two authors were both type 1 diabetic, and two, their credentials and the little bit I read in the sample really let me know that there's real science here. There's real proof, and I felt safe following their advice. So I ordered that book. And then I kind of waited as the results started rolling in on my chart. I saw that my glucose was 377. I looked that up and realized immediately that that wasn't a good place to be. My A1C came back and it was 10.4. And then later that afternoon, when I had my little notification from my chart, I was like, so I opened it and my A1C was 6.8. I wasn't worried about my weight at all, but I have lost 8 pounds since I started doing Whole Foods. I was on metformin and that one did not work out for me, so I was switched to Farxiga. I really saw things start to change in a relatively short amount of time because I'm only just now in the middle of week 5 of eating a whole food plant-based, and I've been very committed to really following the guidelines, keeping the fat below 30 grams, but just gradually I started seeing less and less of a spike in response to eating those carbs, those whole food carbs. I could start seeing that it's really working. Just last Tuesday, had a visit with my doctor, and that was the first time that I was explaining to her my change of diet, and I was a little worried that she would be disapproving, but she was actually really pleased about it, and she thought that was a great idea. I'm on one medication. I'm on the lowest dose of Farxiga, which is 5 milligrams once a day. I told her I'd like to get off of that as soon as possible. And she said, you know what, you're doing really, really great. It was less than 3 months ago that you were in the 300s. So she said, I'd really like to see your A1C below 7 before we start having a conversation about removing the medicine. I hadn't yet reached the guidelines in the book yet. I've been in the 100 teens, for my first thing morning fasting. And so I was waiting anyway to get below 100 before I was going to remove any medication. But when she said, I'd like to see you below 7, I thought that was reasonable. And so I went to the lab after my appointment. And when I had my blood work and went back to work, I was thinking, I hope and pray it's at least down to maybe 8, just so that I can see the progress that's being made. And so went back to work. Oh my goodness, I feel so amazing. I noticed a huge difference around the end of the week 2 mark. I feel so good. Like I've been so full of energy, sleeping well. I didn't expect this at all, but I felt less stress, like work stress, life stress. The same things are still happening, but it feels like I'm carrying it differently. I'm excited because I feel like I'm going to be healthy. I can't explain the despair that entered my life when I felt like I was on a course that was only going to get worse. Maybe I could slow it down and stave off some of it, but it was ultimately going to worsen. And now I completely don't have that outlook or expectation. I feel like I will be healthier than I've ever been before. The food's been really great. I have been pleasantly surprised. My husband and I both like to cook. We have always cooked in the kitchen together before and since diagnosis. So we got a couple of cookbooks that are, the whole food plant-based. And we've had a number of things we've really enjoyed. Most of it's been good. And I was surprised that there was so much variety, so many different ways of doing things. I honestly didn't know that you could cook vegetables without oil. That's sad to say, but I didn't know that. Tonight we did a black bean burritos in a sofrita. We did a chickpea minestrone recently. I like to eat steel cut oats for breakfast, lots of beans, rice, lots of things that we've really enjoyed. I would say to them, give it 2 to 3 weeks, see how you feel, give it a fair shot, really go all in, buy all the things, cook all the things, enjoy all the things. I would say do it because your life is worth it. I'm just so happy that there was a roadmap and that there was a way to figure out how to live the life I want to live. So I would implore someone to give it a fair shot and to really be focused on what they stand to gain by doing so.